Do you remember? Do you remember that Phil Collins? Genesis. No, it's Phil Collins solo career, right? I'm gonna have that stuck in my head. It's gonna bother me now. Anyway, do you remember? I think I talked about this in a previous video, or maybe I thought about talking about it. But anyway, with the smear campaign going on against Caitlin Clark, that is absolutely a coordinated effort. I talked about because people have done clips over the years, right, where they've taken news broadcasts and segments from even not just national, which is easy to do, but local from all over the country on one story, and they're all saying the exact same thing. It is creepy as hell. We're getting that with Caitlin Clark. It was The Ringer and USA Today and The Athletic and the New York Times and various podcasts, and apparently now all the pregame and halftime and postgame shows for especially for Fever games and in-game announcers as well, all saying the same thing. We've got another one yet again from the Los Angeles Times and Bill Plath, trying to make a name for himself because no one's ever heard of the guy. And they're all doing the same thing. Caitlin Clark, in terms of who she is on the basketball court, hasn't changed. Same fiery competitor, has conversations with referees over bad calls, throws her hands in the air. Yes, I'm not going to say flop. A lot of people like to say flop and make it derogatory. But the way she does not get calls, I will say she embellishes because she's trying to bring attention to the calls that the officials are missing, right? There is a difference. There is a difference between Shy Alexander not getting touched at all and acting like he just got hit with a baseball bat, and Caitlin Clark getting hand checked and grabbed and pushed and pulled and elbowed and then throwing her head back to say, hey, how can you possibly miss that? Do I have to actually fall down? Huge difference between the two. But now all of a sudden, it's like it is something new, and the attacks on Caitlin Clark have shifted from her basketball, right? Now they still talk about that. Of course, they got to throw that in. They still talk about the same old nonsense they've talked about for forever, like the turnovers and all of that. Um, Forget the fact that Caitlin Clark has gone from someone who's never been in foul trouble to she's in foul trouble every single game, but that's a story for another day. But now they're all talking about what? They're all talking about Caitlin Clark's character as if, again, any of this is new, but all of a sudden, media rights deal secured, although not as secure as they've realized, because again, 2028 could be very interesting if ratings crash. No one's watching games because of the way Caitlin Clark has been officiated and coached. The Indiana Fever slip into irrelevancy. No one's watching the WNBA. Media, they're not going to continue the deal. 2028 could be a disaster for the WNBA. They don't seem to be thinking about that. But anyway, they secured that. They've got their CBA, right? All the players are getting paid. Everything's set up. They don't need Caitlin Clark anymore. They want Caitlin Clark gone, or at the very least, they want Caitlin Clark broken. They want Caitlin Clark to come to heel. That is what all of this is about. It is about breaking Caitlin Clark so that she submits fully to the agenda of the WNBA. They don't want her to be her. They don't want Caitlin Clark to be Caitlin Clark. They don't want the logo threes. They don't want the exciting passes. They don't want her getting all fired up and getting the crowd going. And by the way, the crowd doesn't get going anymore. The crowd, unless Caitlin Clark does actually take a moment to try and fire them up. Big game against the Mystics tonight. Guess what? Guess where it's being played, folks? That's right, their original 4,200 seat gymnasium. They did not move Caitlin Clark on a Monday night against the Washington Mystics in Washington. Remember 2024, the first time she went and played, and they moved it, and she set an attendance record. I want to say 20,000 something, but it might have been only 19. I can't remember off of the top of my head. But it was massive, right? Huge news for the league. It was everywhere. Now, just 4,200 seat arena. I mean, they're going to sell out. Ticket prices are high because, again, only 4,200 people can fit into the arena. So it is a disaster with what they're trying to do with Caitlin Clark. But anyway, now we've got this guy Billy from the Los Angeles Times, who, by the way, anyway, we'll get into it. Let me back up. As a diehard WNBA fan and season ticket holder, it is with great reluctance that I've come to the following painful conclusion. I'm sick of Caitlin Clark. And of course, he wants you to let you know he is the ultimate Caitlin Clark diehard fan, folks. That is how bad this is. This is a 5 alarm fire. This Caitlin Clark, she's completely changed who she is. She is a disaster. She is now unlikable. She has got to clean up her bratty little act. As the purchaser of an Iowa jersey and consumer of all things Indiana Fever BS, covered their games, witnessed them as a fan, caught them on television. It is with great angst that with great angst, with great angst as a writer. I appreciate that, Bill. I do. I make the following brutal admission. I wish Caitlin Clark would just stop whining and play. Of course, she's not whining. If you actually watch the games, Billy, come on now, Billie Jean. If you watch the games, you know that's a lie because you see how she is officiated, and it is absolutely ridiculous to the point of, I'd say, it's criminal how she is officiated. The logo shooting, circus passing, shape shifting revelation, who was once arguably the most famous basketball player in the world, has become rude, entitled, and frankly not all that fun. She has not changed at all. By the way, I appreciate Bill. He went to his thesaurus, he went to his dictionary, he went to his AI writers like Jasper.ai, which is really good for things like this. I appreciate him making that type of effort to try and make this sound so wonderful. And, he goes on for a long, long time. The once shining superstar is acting like a spoiled brat. The league's most popular player has become its biggest lout. Her stats are decent, but her attitude stinks. Again, Caitlin Clark has not changed a bit. And this is yet another version of the same stuff that we've been seeing throughout media this season. Of course, the people who watch Caitlin Clark and enjoy Caitlin Clark are saying, yeah, Bill, that ain't it. By the way, as Clark Report points out, and I want to give him credit instead of just saying it since I have it here, hasn't tweeted WNBA in 2+ years. Remember what we opened with? He's this super duper huge fan, loves Caitlin Clark, catches everything, diehard WNBA fan. But somehow, as a writer for the LA Times, who mostly writes about LA sports, kind of wild that he's going into a tangent about Caitlin Clark, hasn't tweeted WNBA in 2.5 years, but now it's popular to hate CC. So you wanted to grift some impressions. Hasn't written anything about Paige Beckers. You are too old to be this stupid. Shout out Evelyn. Get that grift on, brother. Antics needs. You a writer? 2042. The Netflix limited series about the former WNBA premieres tonight. By the way, I think this guy's on a whole bunch of meds for some stuff that makes him got some serious mental issues and dealing with reality and that sort of thing. But as you can see, they're not having it. Livewire Sports Media, shout out, you washed up ass, can't be this stupid. Clickbait, mute. It's a good thing normal people don't read. Professional journalists, YouTubers and content creators have far more credibility. They are honest and have no agenda like your rag always has. Shout out to L. Christensen. I missed that the first time. I'm going to go ahead and give that a like. I don't even know if you watch any of my stuff, but I'm going to assume that I'm going to put myself into that category. I'm just saying, give myself a pat on the back. And, of course, all the other great ones like Widemire Sports Media. We got Venom. We got Vision. We've got Rose at Black and White Sports 2 and 3 and 18. And I'm just kidding. He doesn't have all those. Ben Daniel, BDP, Ben Daniel Podcast. Yeah, man, we're all trying to do the job journalists don't do. And, just having a good time, keeping you informed, talking some basketball. How would feel reading a bunch of think pieces written about your daughter by a bunch of grown men, attacking a 24-year-old young lady that has the weight of the entire WNBA league on her back is not very becoming. Do better, sir. STFU and keep sticking that green thing they throw on the court at WNBA games up your backside, clout chaser. Bill is still spewing opinions. Who knew? Yo, you have a typo, by the way. Might want to fix that. It's 3, FYI. What sport did he play? How will CC ever go without your adoration? So here is a big part of the irksome nonsense for all these people. Think about what we're getting right here, right? All of these, and I'm going down the list. They hate this so much. They hate that there's alternative media. They hate that there's YouTubers. They hate that there's people on X telling the truth. Because as you can see, despite all this attack, this coordinated smear campaign, Caitlin Clark fans ain't buying it. They ain't turning on her. Now they may end up stop watching because it's not entertaining basketball anymore the way she's being used, but they're not turning on Caitlin Clark. I want to finish with one other thing because it goes to this. You heard him the way he's talking about the crash outs and the entitlement and all this stuff, and we of course heard all of the think pieces when it came to Caitlin and Stephanie White. Check this out, folks. Yes, yes, that is Brianna Stewart arguing with her coach. By the way, Caitlin Clark didn't argue with Stephanie White. Caitlin Clark was sitting there getting yelled at until she finally reacted with, hey, I'm just putting my hands straight up, obviously reacting to something Stephanie White said about playing defense. Here is Brianna Stewart going at her coach who had to come over to her, still yelling at him and pointing when he left. Not a thing. Haven't seen any of these media people talk about this in any way, shape, or form because, of course, it is okay when other superstars do it and other superstars do it a lot. Oh, sorry, I almost knocked my camera over. Other superstars do it a lot. Just can't happen when it's Caitlin Clark. It becomes a thing. It becomes a think pieces everywhere. Once again, media smear campaign. We're not buying it, folks. It is a new era, and y'all are the dinosaurs and the comet, meteor, whatever you want to call it. It has hit. Y'all are gone. You just don't realize it yet. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Like, comment, subscribe. I will talk to you later.